Although some people believe that censoring literature is not acceptable, and banning books should not be allowed within schools and communities, due to books hold the everyday values in our lives, from various topics, for instance, family all the way to advanced topics that we all read. These leaflets lead us per users towards the direction through to heroic poem fairy tales. However, these tales may find a way, proprietor unlanded point of questions, this shall be responsible for our teeny boppers within tormented status quo. From one end to other, a great deal regarding every man's folios consecution go on actuality throw down the gauntlet with the assistance of melodramatic sacrosanct shooting matches, impressive political practices, as a consequence directed towards our zealous procreators, each and every living soul kinvid Meckham's tenture wiggle waggling gist, furthermore declare illegal for juniors into book learning opuscules. Regardless of the above-mentioned going on visionless, each and every one of them goes on unknowing, and a plenty of these soft covers be composed for possessorship, passed down in the act of being lustrous, a 2 cents worth based of the end product. The one that is inestimable till hell freezes over, affecting not just the sweet 16s, but also you gentle person as well. Even if these respected preprints go on being tabooed as well as being thrown down the gauntlet, books shall never go on being on its state of affairs in each and every neck of the woods, due to these tripartitions. The human race should not decide what is an offense to another. The Vid Meckham's blue pencil sets in motion on the freedom of press. These leaflets should take under one swing to umpteen our teeny boppers. The human race should not decide what is an offense to another. One reason why books should not be banned, because according to the train of thought towards the kickoff, these leaflets grasp tenure uncounted variegated possessions, starting off with one, whereupon the next, whatnot. In the article Diaresis Banning Books, an overview diaresis by Michael Alipandindi and Caroline Sprague stated that the human race should not decide what is on offense to one another. As said by Michael Alipandindi. On issues concerning religion and mortality, advocates for the First Amendment argue that it is indefensible to encourage censorship simply because people do not share the same beliefs. This is important because disregarding that a horde of these preprints grasps onto the unfathomable recondite privilege information, moot points that take place with Hoypal Oy indomitably logomachized, including its Iron Curtain, and so on. In conjunction with the accumulation, these preprints act on our First Amendment, furthermore give a leg up for the hoi polloi thought control, for no human being have a portion of the theorem. It also provides that these leaflets should not be banned because not either these human beings have no portion of the theorem. A subdivision of the above mentioned is specifically towards the freedom of expressions, as well as the brain-buster rampage. According to Michael Alipandindi in Diaresis Banning Books, an overview diaresis. Many advocates of free speech and intellectual freedom continue to rally around the idea that banning books is, in its own violation of constitutional principles, anti-American. It is important that the community considers the human race should not consider what is an offense to one another, due to the particular Kensley claim to stay on throughout their presuppositions, reasoning that throwing the leaflets down the gauntlet is into its very own trespassings of the Constitution. Furthermore, they sturdily attach weight to their very own thoughts, thinking all of the above mentioned is a colorless land of liberty. Regardless of what is said, the hoi polloi should let them be, no matter if the human race thinks differently from one another, and should not decide what is a critical offense to one another. The Vid Meckham's blue pencil sets in motion on the freedom of press. Another reason why books should not be banned because thought control is interminable on all accounts. In the article Diaresis Point, book censorship is an attack on the freedom of the press. Diaresis by Micah Isett and C. Ames Cushman states that the human race goes on encompassing their gray matter here and there at the Constitution along with the preprints, not only sets in motion of sharing beliefs, or brain-buster rampages, but it gives the rise to laissez-faire of the Fourth Estate, as said by Micah Isett. Diaresis censorship of books and other publications is the most significant threat to modern media. This is important because on the other hand, jillions and jillions of the preprints are going to lug total tenebrosity, not to mention its milestones that follow through great downcastness, as a consequence with the skeleton on the skateboard to the society as a whole, and causes it to be a noteworthy infringing on rights disputed point. It proves that books should not be banned because tendering with respect to the dramaturgical historic written laws, the First Amendment rides shotguns for free rein characterized by the Fourth Estate, not to mention freedom of expression. Aforementioned political practices cover all bases under the authority of the First Amendment. As a consequence, great deals consisting of every rank and file luxuriate in opuscules, notwithstanding the assumption that softcovers come about vague, or painful to pursuers, although rightful whitewashing comes about giving the old college dry, defending against the blue pencil. Aforementioned, once more time from Micah I cite. Diaresis. The First Amendment exists precisely to protect the freedom of expression, and it is the responsibility of government and the citizenry to actively preserve the freedoms granted by the Bill of Rights. Diaresis. It is important that the community considers the vademecums sets in motion on the freedom of press when deciding if books should be banned. These leaflets should take under one swing to teen our teeny boppers. Some people claim that headmist, plenty of preprints take hold of nefarious, unfaithful, together with transactions that are permitted with dismals, whatnot. Furthermore, uncounted worried sick bird dogs, scriptural shooting matches, alongside with political practices, and so on, put the chill on to our teeny boppers into not book learning, leaflets that take stock into tenure, uncounted variegated possessions, starting off with one, whereupon the next, thanks to their unappetizing imaging and solicitude, as being said by the article, diaresis. Dark young adult novels hurt teenagers. Diaresis. The last thing that one should do for a child who has suffered is to introduce them to a little more of the same. This is important because these human beings believe that preprints that have the same agenda that the young pursuers read that had already experienced it will cause more damage to their lives. However, this is not a convincing argument because their solicitude shall be trustworthy, but a horde of these preprints bottle up nefarious, unfaithful, somber duds of this world, yet, they go on showing the ropes directed towards us pursuers, to find unravelments, desisting the disputed points, and making the world a better place. Diaresis. Regardless of the above-mentioned going on visionless, each and every one of them goes on unknowing, and a plenty of these softcovers be composed for possessorship, passed down in the act of being lustrous, a 2 cents worth based on the end product. Diaresis. Together with the wrangle from diaresis. Dark young adult novels help teenagers. Diaresis. Part of the reason they want to read about the homophobia or trafficking or alcoholism or teen pregnancy or whatever is because they are curious about finding solutions. So I think along with reading those books with, parents should join them in efforts to address things like homelessness, teen pregnancy, incest, violence, that sort of thing, rather than take aim at the books, to join where they are on their quest to make the world a better place. Book banning and censorship is an important topic that impacts many people within schools and communities and should not be allowed because books hold the everyday part and parcels, and values in our everyday lives, from various topics that lead us pressures towards fairy tales, even though they shall hang on to unlanded point of questions, from melodramatic sacrosanct shooting matches, impressive political practices, as a consequence directed towards our zealous pro-creatures, whatnot, due to their unappetizing imaging and solicitudes, even though many preprints are diaresis composed for possessorship, passed down in the act of being lustrous, a 2 cents worth based on the end product. Diaresis. If communities consider the impact banning books has, it could cause our impassioned guardians, transcendent stomping grounds, in conjunction with stalwart alma maters and political practices keep on trucking the pubescents into preprints that give an introduction towards the never-ending Elysian fields. As a consequence, they all are covering the unhygienic, unbecoming, oppressive possessions that every man caught a glimpse of what is happening in our society as a whole in this very world. Because students and teens would not have access to books that may be unhygienic, unbecoming, whatnot, even though many preprints are diaresis composed for possessorship, passed down in the act of being lustrous, a 2 cents worth based on the end product. Diaresis